Hello friends, we'll discuss today law relating to cybercrime. We need to understand the word internet. Internet is popularly known as network of networks. Because of that, what happens is that if you sit in one place in one country here, and if another person who sits in another country, another place, then they can always interact and they can do many activities through that networking. And this gives us a lot of advantages, like the entire e-commerce is possible because of that networking system. We do remote education through networking. We entertain through remote places. It is because of internet. So all these advantages we get because of the networking facility. But along with this networking facility, which gives us all the advantages, it also allows certain people to do criminal activity by using the same network. The question is that how can we use the network or the internet in the best possible way, take all the advantages and remove the disadvantage, which is cybercrime. That's generally not possible. So we have to have a law which will regulate internet crime or cybercrime. Now for that, the first question is, do you want to regulate internet? Should internet be regulated? If you understand, the internet developed in a spontaneous way. There was no real owner for internet. There was no preconceived plan to develop internet. Internet developed on its own spontaneously. So there is an environment which is without regulation, and that's how internet has developed today. It started as an military activity in United States, but today internet has become part and parcel of our life, and all this could happen because internet was never regulated. So there is a very strong argument that internet should not be regulated. In this point, John Perry Barlow made an observation which is documented as freedom of cyberspace. John Perry Barlow is of the opinion that internet should not be regulated because the regulator, that is the government or the state, they do not understand the culture of internet, they do not understand the aspiration and the ethics of the users of internet. So if they try to regulate internet, then they will fail miserably. And that is what is happening today. Every country, they have their law relating to cybercrime, but the rate of crimes are increasing. So we can understand that through only law, you will not be able to regulate cybercrime. But nonetheless, we have to have a law relating to cybercrime. Now the question is that, what do you mean by cybercrime? A crime which is committed in the cyberspace is called cybercrime, popularly known as a crime which is done with the help of internet. Now, how do you use internet for the purpose of committing crime? Either it can be happening in one of the computer which is site of the offense, or you will be using computer as a transit or as a route to commit the crime somewhere else. So there can be two types of cybercrimes which will take place. We need to understand that in India, the law is the Information Technology Law 2000. So the Information Technology Law 2000 is the law relating to cybercrime in India. Now we need to understand that the technology which is the networking based technology, where we have a law relating to internet which we call Information Technology Law, that has a jurisdiction clause. Jurisdiction means where the law will be applicable. If you understand, every sort of law has a jurisdiction clause, and generally in Indian law, the jurisdiction is that the law will be operating throughout the India. But in case of internet law, it is different. Information technology law, in its jurisdiction clause, it says that this law will be applicable not only in India, but also offense or contraventions which are committed outside India. That's number one. That means any crime which is happening overseas can also be adjudicated, can also be addressed through this law. Second, this crime, this law can also be used for crime committed by foreigners. So it is not only to be, applicable to Indian, it is also to be applicable, to foreigner. That means hypothetically, if a crime is committed in another country, suppose in Bangladesh, and the crime is committed by an American citizen, even then our IT Act should be applicable. That's how it has been projected initially. But at a later point of time, the law requires that for the purpose of using this law, you need to satisfy a minimum contact. That is, you need to satisfy that the crime has been committed by using any of the Indian computer system or computer network. And that's called the minimum contact, which if you satisfy, then you can justify that why Indian law should be applicable to a situation which is committing outside India and which is committed by a person who is non-Indian, who is a foreigner. So if you understand the jurisdiction, then for the purpose of using this law, you need to prove that either the crime has been committed in India or by an Indian. At the same time, if the crime is committed outside India by a foreigner, then it must involve an Indian computer system, and Indian computer network. After the satisfying jurisdiction clause, the second question is that why people are encouraged to do cybercrime? Because there are a lot of advantages of committing cybercrime. Number one, it does not require a lot of preparation to commit a crime. If you have the skill, then you are always few seconds away from committing a crime. If you have a computer which is connected to internet, any point of time you can commit a crime. Whereas a conventional crime requires a lot of preparation. Second, when you are committing a crime, it will, you can use jurisdiction to create the situation more difficult. Like you are visiting abroad, you may commit a crime there and then come back to your country. The moment the crime is committed somewhere else, it will involve a foreign jurisdiction for the purpose of evidences, foreign jurisdiction for the purpose of completing the entire trial, and that makes situation a little difficult. At the same time, in internet, it is very easy to disappear. There are many websites which can come today, commit crime, and then tomorrow it will disappear. So there are certain reasons why the internet crime has become very popular, because commission of that offense is very easy. And that's why you can find that there are a lot of increasing trend in cybercrime. At the same time, we need to understand that there has to be a lot of awareness, that do's and do nots. We need to tell everyone that look what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do. And there has to be a lot of warning that you are not supposed to do certain thing, because otherwise people who are new to internet, they are always vulnerable that they will become victim of certain crime. And criminals are just waiting for those people who can be exploited because of their ignorance of the technology. Now let's understand that what sort of crime which have been legislated in IT Act. The first crime which has been legislated and which is very popular is called hacking. Now what is hacking? Generally, dictionary meaning of hacking is unauthorized access. Now, unauthorized access in physical situation is something where you know that you are entering into someone else's premise without permission and you are going to commit certain crime. But in case of internet, it is very difficult, or it is very easy in the way you want to understand that when you are entering into someone else's premise, that is when you are exceeding your territory or when you are exceeding your permission. Let's take the example that suppose when I am using university's computer, it is expected that I have a permission to use university's computer. Now a person who is not associated with the university is not supposed to use university's computer. So if that person does, then we will consider it to be hacking, because it is unauthorized access. Now whether only unauthorized access should be considered to be a crime, the answer is no. You have to have certain other intention, that is intention to do something else, that after having an unauthorized entry, you should be able to damage, destroy or delete certain information. If you do that, then it will be considered to be hacking. So hacking, when it was legislated in the year 2000, we are very clear that all unauthorized access by itself will not be a crime until and unless you have an intention to destroy, delete and alter information. Apart from this, you should also be in a position to diminish value and utility of information. For example, you get entry to a university's computer without permission. And then what you do is that you go through examinations question paper, which will happen after a few days. You don't destroy the question paper, you don't delete, you don't interfere, but you read the question paper before examination. That destroys value and utility of the question paper. So even that will be considered to be a cyber crime. Now this continued till 2008, and in 2008 we have gone for an amendment in IT Act, and we dropped this provision relating to hacking, and we have replaced it with computer related offense. Now section 66 of IT Act you will find, which deals with computer related offense. So hacking is no longer there in IT Act with the very word hacking, but it has been substituted by computer related offense as it is given in section 66 of IT Act. Computer related offense is now legislated under section 66 of IT Act. It has two components. One, that it requires mental element or mens rea, which is fraudulently and dishonestly, and it is different from hacking, which was before 2008. For hacking, the mens rea was intention or knowledge, but now it is fraudulently or dishonestly. We need to understand that what is the meaning of these two words, fraudulently and dishonestly. Fraudulently means with the intention to defraud, and then it says not otherwise. That means whenever we use fraudulently, we have to prove that there was an intention to defraud. Dishonestly means either there has to be economic gain or economic loss. These two are the mens rea for 66. Now 66 uses another section, which is section 43. So all the activities which are listed in 43, they should be done either fraudulently or dishonestly, then an offense under section 66 will be constituted. Now we need to understand what is there in section 43. In section 43, which is a civil wrong, where there are various activities which are computer related, has been legislated. Number one, unauthorized access. Unauthorized access has been legislated in 43. So if anyone commit unauthorized access fraudulently or dishonestly, then it will be a crime under section 66. Unauthorized download, that also been legislated in 43. So if anyone downloads without authorization fraudulently or dishonestly, then that will be a cyber crime under section 66. Unauthorizedly spreading virus. If anyone introduces virus without permission and that is done fraudulently or dishonestly, then it will be considered to be a cyber crime under section 66. So the very purpose of introducing section 66 is to take it from hacking and to regulate many other activities which are happening in and around computer, and they should be brought under section 66. Now after section 66, we move on to another interesting section, which is section 66A. What we need to understand is section 66A has been declared unconstitutional by Indian Supreme Court, but we need to remember about section 66. Section 66A deals with an information which is grossly offensive. Now what's the problem relating to this section? The section says that any information which is grossly offensive. Now when you send an information, technically, the moment an information leaves your computer, it is sending information, no matter to whom you send. Second, whether the person to whom you have sent feels any way objectionable, we do not know. So it is one-sided. That is, the moment an information which is grossly offensive and which is sent from your computer, you can be booked under section 66A. Now, if you remember, there was a professor from Jadavpur University who was arrested for sharing a cartoon, and in the cartoon there was depiction of a chief minister. Now, generally, a political character, they are used to cartoon, because generally there are a lot of cartoons which are created based on a political character. So long it is not defamatory, people do not feel objectionable. But in this case, that professor was arrested. and everyone realized that it is an abuse of section 66A, because 66A says that information has to be grossly offensive. Now, grossly offensive to whom? The professor who shared that cartoon understood that it is a cartoon, it has no intention to cause disrespect or defame Chief Minister. It was just a cartoon which has to be taken lightly. But the police officer who was at that point of time in the police station felt that this is something which is relating to Chief Minister, and that's why it is grossly offensive, and he arrested the professor. Although he was, he was released afterwards and the case was dropped, but the issue is that the section has the potential to arrest someone without having any intention or without coming anywhere close to an offense, and this happened in because of section 66A. And it not only happened in Calcutta, there are many incidences which happened in Bombay or in Chennai, and ultimately a case was filed in Supreme Court, and the case is popularly known as Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. In Shreya Singhal versus Union of India, Indian Supreme Court felt that this section has to be declared unconstitutional because this section is very broad, very vague, and there is always a possibility that someone innocent might be booked under this section, and that's why Indian Supreme Court declared this section as unconstitutional. It is also to be remembered that even after the section was being declared unconstitutional, in many police stations, people are filing FIR under 66A. And then Supreme Court had to give instruction to every state headquarter to inform every police station that not to register any case under section 66A because it has not been declared, it has been declared unconstitutional. What was expected is that there should be an amendment in 66A, but unfortunately till today there was no amendment in section 66A. So there is a vacuum because 66A has been declared unconstitutional by Supreme Court. At the same time, there was no amendment from the Parliament. Because of this vacuum, what is happening is that there are several incidences for which there is no law at this point of time. Take example of, if you take example of Nigerian scam. Now, what is Nigerian scam? You always hear about people who are winning a lottery. A huge amount of money you have won because of lottery. These informations are not correct. These information are fake information, untrue information, but the person who receives this email or the person who receives this SMS believes that it is true, and that's why they do certain activity which has been instructed. For example, they will ask you to deposit 2,000 rupees in an Western Union account. Now you go and deposit that amount, knowing, without realizing that these 2,000 rupees you are not going to get back ever. This is lost, completely lost. At the same time, there is no question of winning lottery. You have not won lottery, that is untrue. But there is no law in IT Act, there is no provision in IT Act which can take care of this. We are still dependent on Indian Penal Code, section 420. But the idea is that as we are moving ahead with new technology, IT Act should have all the provision. Earlier, section 66A could have taken care of this incident, but it is unfortunately not happening because there is no such law at this point of time. We need to discuss about spam. Now, we know that spam is something which is on all unauthorized information, unauthorized mail, when they come to our inbox, we call it spam. But generally, internet is considered to be a very cheap media to communicate, and that's why a lot of advertisers, they believe that they can use internet for the purpose of advertisement. Now, it might be a very cheap medium for advertisement, but the recipient feels very disturbed because when he finds that his entire inbox is full with information which he doesn't want or he has not asked for. So for controlling or regulating spam, we can use section 66A, but section 66A is right now not in operational. We also understand that there is something called revenge porn. and we see that there are many people who are in a relationship, they take photo which are very intimate, and then something goes wrong in the relationship, then one of them will make those photos publishable in a public media, and that is when people understand that there has to be a protection. And this protection right now is given from Indian Penal Code, but in IPC also, in IT Act also, there could have been provision, and that provision was section 66A, which is not operating today. We need to also understand that there are two other unlawful activity which are called identity theft and cheating by personation. What is identity theft? Because internet, where you are operating in a system or a computer and the person behind the computer is not known. So people understand that a mail is originating from an account, but who is operating that account, no one knows. A person understands that there is a profile created, but who has created that profile, no one knows. So because of this anonymity, people use this for the purpose of committing crime, and that's why this identity theft and cheating by personation has been created. Now, in case of identity theft, what is happening is that someone who is fraudulently or dishonestly using someone else's password or digital signature. So if someone uses others' password or digital signature fraudulently or dishonestly, then an offense will be considered to be identity theft, where you are pretending to be someone else, although it is not true because you are not doing it with approval. Then cheating by personation. In case of cheating by personation, you are also impersonating someone else, but by doing that, you are cheating someone else. That means there has to be an effect of cheating that which suggests that someone else was induced by your activity and has done something which they would not have done in the absence of that activity. And that's why taking these two together, that is identity theft and cheating by personation, that considers to be very useful when people are using in internet or the networking facility and trying to commit offense in the name of someone else. We then go to another part which is relating to privacy. In IT Act, there is a section called 66E which is relating to privacy. Now, what happens here is that suppose when you often will hear that someone who has gone to public place in suppose they have gone to either changing changing room or dressing room to change dress, and then someone else will keep a camera by which they will try to take photograph of private places, and then after taking those photographs they will upload it in a platform which is open to everyone. This sort of complaint, when they were coming, we realized that we have to have a law which is relating to protection of privacy, and that's why 66E was introduced. So there you have to prove that someone has taken photo of private parts without permission, and then after taking that they have put it in the public domain, or they have transmitted it. If that happens, then a case can be filed under section 66E. You must have heard that there are incidents where someone a person who was visiting Goa and has gone into an outlet of Fab India, and there one of the staff of that center actually changed the direction of the camera, and thereby the camera was targeted towards the dressing room, and when people were trying to change their dress, they took photograph and they were trying to upload. So in this situation, what can be done is that you can use section 66E to give them relief. At the same time, we have a clause relating to obscene material. We understand that obscenity law in every country is very useful, because we do not want certain material to be available to people who are immature, who are not matured enough to understand consequence of that material, and that's why obscenity law is there. But in case of internet, it becomes very useful, because internet can get lot of information to you which you should not otherwise get access to. For example, pornographic material. Now we know that an adult person can view pornographic material in private place. There is no problem with that. But a person who is below 18, if they get access to this pornographic material, then that can affect their maturity, their upbringing. That can affect and divert them their attention to unproductive activity. That's why it is necessary that we do not make this pornographic material available to them. But the reality is that when you go to internet and search, lot of pornographic material will come before you. So we understand that we have a law relating to obscene material, but that law is not very effective because we do not enforce that law properly. So Section 67 of IT Act deals with obscene material. As per that law, any obscene material, and pornography, which is definitely an obscene material, should not be made accessible, should not be published or transmitted in internet. But the internet is full of pornographic material because there is a demand, there is a supply, and the pornographic industry is enjoying or exploiting this medium, but at the cost of people who are underage and who can get access to this pornographic material. So there was a situation where there was a direction given that all internet service providers should close all the websites where there are pornographic material. But in doing that, what will happen is that even the people who are adult, who can have this pornographic access to this pornographic material in private, even they will not be able to do that because the entire source is closed. And that's why there was a lot of pressure on the government, and government had to roll back their decision. And right now the decision is that only child pornographic material has been banned. So no child pornographic material is available in the internet, and any internet service provider, if they are making available any child pornographic material, then that will be considered to be cyber crime. In all these cases, we have one entity who is playing very important role, is called intermediary. Now, who is this intermediary? Intermediary are the people who make the internet happening. Every entity who is supporting internet activity, for example, internet service provider, auction site, or payment gateway, search engine, cyber cafe, all of them, they support internet activity to take place the way we enjoy today. And all of them have been given the status of intermediary. Now, what do? They support internet activity, but definitely they are not always part of all the criminal activity which is happening in internet. So it will be unfortunate if we make internet service provider or if these intermediaries party to every criminal activity which is happening in internet. So there has to be certain protection given to this intermediary, and that protection is called safe harbor protection. And this safe harbor protection is given in Section 79 of IT Act. And as per that, if intermediary can prove that they did not have knowledge of the crime and they have taken all due diligence, then they will not be liable. So that's why in a case relating to Bazi.com, the CEO of Bazi.com was arrested because from that website, the communication relating to pornographic material was communicated. But Supreme Court ultimately released the CEO of Bazi.com based on the fact that they will be able to enjoy protection of Section 79, safe harbor protection of Section 79, and they should not be liable. We also have to understand that in case of internet, there are many situations where people can become, victim of it without realizing that they are becoming victim and they are doing something which is not allowed. So in internet, we have to not only have a law relating to cyber crime, we also have to have a strong awareness system, and that should start from the school. So from the school level, we have to inform every children that what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do, and how they are supposed to protect their interest in internet. Otherwise, internet gives us lot of opportunities, but internet is also full of trap where people will unnecessarily get troubled because of their ignorance. So along with the effective law, we also have to have a strong awareness building, and that's how we can develop better and secured future tomorrow.